Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan and thanks for joining us for our Friday update for July the 7th. We've got a forecast covering the weekend and the outlook for next week, because next week another cold blast is on the way for New Zealand. It's not as bad as the one we've just had, but if you are on holiday and you are travelling around, you may want to keep up to date with what is on the way. So here we are for Friday. We've got more low pressure building after that brief area of high pressure, still around to some degree for today, but you can see this sort of line here, that's the windy nor'easter as that low pressure zone develops. And what you're going to see is in that line and just out to sea from it, rain develops across Friday and sets into tonight. And as we go through into Saturday, that system slowly moves across the North Island, blocked by high pressure. So it's going to help sort of lift up the rainfall totals for some of you, which you don't want to hear, but the rainfall totals are not huge. So that's the good news. There'll be a little bit of rain that comes down the eastern side of the North Island. It's not a major event. I know you're sick of the rain though in the North Island, but there's a little bit more coming through, and the rest of it's over on the west coast, dry for the east coast. And for Aussie, that low pressure zone putting the squeeze on the winds, severe gales from Adelaide to Melbourne, including ACT and up towards Sydney as well. Otherwise, high pressure starts here over in Queensland and goes all the way out to the Indian Ocean. By Sunday, that high drifts further in towards South Australia. It still holds firm around the rest of Aussie, but windy in this southeastern corner, a precursor actually for what New Zealand's getting next week. But for now, Sunday's not too bad. It's a little bit showery on the western side. The low moves away. There might be some rain also down around coastal parts of Otago and Dunedin. It's pretty borderline though, and mild for this time of the year. I said the other day, this weather pattern in New Zealand feels more like spring or autumn. It's not consistently cold. And even after the Antarctic blast of last weekend, where it was 3 degrees in Dunedin and snowing at lunchtime, the next day it was leaning warmer than average in some places. So this westerly wind is helping lift up our temperatures. So next week, you're going to see that westerly wind kicking off, but then that southerly change I mentioned coming in. So for Monday, windy westerlies, more rain. I'm very sorry if you live in Waikato, it's not the best news, but I'm hopeful that in a month's time, we'll be giving you a better forecast. But July is another wet month for you. You'll see that rain coming through here on Monday. Most of the wet weather for Waikato looks to be in the first part of July, at least at this stage. So again, low pressure here and here. That's the reason why there's some instability. And we mentioned as well, that thunderstorm icon will be showing up. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have thunderstorms, but it shows the instability in the atmosphere, and that can produce an isolated heavy downpour or big squally burst of wind. So to Tuesday. Tuesday's not too bad. There are a few showers around New Zealand, southerlies coming into Wellington and Wairarapa, and colder airflows as well. But it's really Wednesday that you'll start to feel more of a southerly flow coming in to the South Island. This is it here, and it pushes all the way up the South Island. Not a huge amount of moisture, so it's not going to be stormy necessarily everywhere with lots of snow and rain, but there will be some snow flurries up in the mountains. And if I'm not talking about you in Australia, that's because there's nothing to talk about when you've got that giant big high pressure zone over the top of you. And this is what El Nino looks like. It's still building, but this is really what it starts to look like. So by Thursday next week, New Zealand, here we go again. Another big southerly coming all the way in and up the country. There could be some heavy snow around the central North Island. Great news for the ski fields. Snow along the Southern Alps as well, but a bit more of that wet, cold weather coming through. It is winter after all. And our friends over in Perth also getting a cold blast, not as cold as the New Zealand one. So if you need some settled weather, that's the zone to be in. That is all from me. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again next week.